As many of you know, I've been leading a women's ministry really largely focused on improving marriage and dealing with the difficulties in marriage from a Bible-based perspective for many, many years, almost 10 years now. And over the course of these almost 10 years, I've come back over and over and over again to certain Bible principles, certain Bible verses that have just been instrumental in building a healthy marriage and dealing with challenges in marriage. And it's no wonder, because God invented marriage. He invented man and woman. He invented Adam and Eve. He's had them come together. He's the one that designed marriage. So of course he would have the best, most brilliant advice about how to conduct yourself as a wife in a way that you could build a healthy marriage. So I've put together my top 10 Bible principles or Bible verses for you in no particular order, but here are 10 that just keep on coming up over and over and over again. Let me share them with you. First one is Genesis 2:18, where God says, "It's not good for man to be alone. I will create a helper suitable for him." Yes, you are your husband's helper. And that is not a demeaning, subservient role at all. You have a powerful position. You might be the only person, for instance, the only person on the face of the earth that is praying for your husband. Wow, talk about a pivotal position as his helper. Second verse to share with you, 1 Peter 3 verse 4. It tells wives to have the unfading beauty of a gentle and quiet spirit, which is of great worth in God's sight. Whew, my husband tells me over and over again that there's something so powerful and so helpful for a husband in terms of having a wife with a gentle spirit. In other words, the way that she interacts with him is not all condemning and harsh and critical and pointing out his flaws, but she has a gentle and kind demeanor toward her husband. The next verse, Proverbs 31 verse 30. "Charm is deceptive and beauty is fleeting, but a woman who fears the Lord is to be praised." Wow, it all starts there, doesn't it? As you begin to have this God-honoring relationship where you are really seeking to honor the Lord and obey the Lord, everything else falls into place. The next verse, Titus 2 verses 4 and 5. "Urge the younger women to love their husbands and children and to be self-controlled and pure." I could do a whole lesson on just that alone, right? But really, God's saying, hey, ladies, you do need to have some self-control in your life. You will be a much better wife. You'll stay more attractive to your husband if you are self-controlled in terms of how much you eat, how much you spend shopping, in so many ways. If you're self-controlled, that's something to pray about, that God would develop in you that self-control. The next verse, Proverbs 31 verse 27. "She watches over the affairs of her household and does not eat the bread of idleness." Now, God's not saying that you personally need to be the one that's tackling everything in your home. You should work 40 hours a week outside the home and then come home and do all the cleaning and all the cooking and all the laundry and all the grocery shopping. No, but can you be in charge of a plan to get all those things accomplished? The next verse, Ephesians 5:33. "The wife must respect her husband." Oh, this is so instrumental. Men need respect like women need chocolate. Okay, maybe more than that. Men are designed and wired to crave respect. So show him respect. Honor him by treating him with honor when he walks through the door at the end of the day. Like pivot and actually look at him and smile and say, "Welcome home." And maybe ask his opinion on things and stop rolling your eyes at him and pointing out every little flaw. All of those things are so disrespectful. The next verse, pivotal. Matthew 18 verses 15 through 17. This section of verses actually is strategic if you're dealing with something really difficult in your marriage, where maybe your husband is verbally abusive or drinking way too much or doing illegal drugs or looking at pornography or spending time alone with other women and he just won't stop. Jesus gives us instructions, ladies, on what to do in Matthew 18 verses 15 through 17. "If your brother sins against you, go and tell him his fault, just between the two of you. If he listens to you, you've won your brother over. But if he does not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If he still refuses to listen, tell it to the church. And if he refuses to listen even to the church, treat him as you would a pagan or a tax collector." What does that mean? It means that you first come to your husband, you see if you can resolve it there. But if that doesn't work, you maybe say, then let's talk to a pastor or a counselor. We need to get this resolved. If he just refuses to change no matter what, and he's still sinning against you, maybe, just maybe, you need to separate yourself from him, just like the Jewish people separated themselves from pagans and tax collectors. Something for you to ponder and pray about. Next verse, we're on to the 8th verse. Hebrews 12:15, see to it that no bitter root grows up among you to cause trouble and defile many. Whew. When you sense that there is bitterness and resentment creeping into your heart, you've got to address that issue. Because if you don't, that resentment will eventually, slowly kill your marriage. The 9th verse, 1 Corinthians 7, starting in verse 2. Since sexual immorality is occurring, each man should have sexual relations with his own wife and each woman with her own husband. The husband should fulfill his marital duty to his wife and likewise the wife to her husband. Ladies, work hard to build a robust sex life with your husband. This will keep him bonded to you. This will strengthen the bond between you. I know you're exhausted. I know some of you have little kids and you're like, oh, and now he wants something from me too. But carve out time. Schedule the time if you need to. Just like you schedule time to take a shower. I hope you do. Work to find times where you can say, okay, this is the time I'm going to nurture my marriage. Maybe ask your husband to do the dishes after dinner and get the kids into bed so that you can relax and get your mind set on being intimate with him. And the last verse, Colossians 3:18. Wives, submit yourselves to your husbands as is fitting in the Lord. I love that particular verse because it says, as is fitting in the Lord. In other words, yes, submit to your husband's leadership. Allow him to lead your family. But if he is clearly steering you into a sinful direction and you're about ready to go off the cliff, then you need not submit to that kind of leadership. I pray that whatever verses God seemed to highlight for you in that top 10 list, that those verses would just sink deep into your heart and mind and spirit so you could become an even more amazing wife.